budget has sought to concentrate more on improving the infrastructure of the country. And the finance minister has been very conscious about the fact that the financial shape of the country is not quite healthy, with a fiscal deficit of 9.5% of the GDP. And she wants that to be brought down to 6.8% in the forthcoming financial year, and ultimately to be brought down to 4.5% in 2025-26. By no stretch of imagination, this budget at this juncture can be equated to a stimulus budget, because the budget has sought to cut down subsidies in very many vital areas across the board. Subsidies in very vital areas such as fertilizer, rural employment guarantee scheme, and for LPG have been slashed, and this will apparently bring some pressure on the numbers this year. And I also feel that the central government has always been more pro-centric. That is, actually, in a federal structure like India, the state's financial powers are now being greatly affected. We have seen from the experience of GST. I think this budget has also made budgeting for the states slightly difficult. They have also put conditions with regard to state GDP, and on the whole, I think they wanted to raise monies by sale of important assets, namely 2 public sector banks and 1 insurance company, which is going to actually bring in trillions of dollars into the kitty. And as far as investors are concerned, we all saw the stock market went up yesterday, mainly because there were reports that they'll be tweaking the tax code to make mutual funds more attractive. And one other interesting development is that the foreign direct investment on insurance, the cap at 50% has now been increased. It may not be 74%, but while increasing, the budget has also indicated that there will be restrictions in the composition of the board of directors. And the disinvestment target has been lowered to 1.75 trillion. This possibly due to the fact that last year's experience was only 15% of the target fixed for last year was actually achieved. One actually uh, cause of concern is the statement made by the minister that they are going to review 400 customs exemption notifications. See, this is a very tricky area. The notifications themselves are actually very confusing and have come for several contrary judicial interpretations. We'll have to wait and see how and in what manner they are going to review the notifications. But there is also an announcement that there's going to be a consolidation of laws, and they're going to bring in a single securities market code by consolidating 4 existing acts covering capital market depositories, securities contract, and government securities regulations framework for corporate restructuring. And as expected, actually, the bond markets reacted negatively to the budget, even though the stock market reacted favorably. The bond markets reacted quite negatively, given the large fiscal deficit and the long way for fiscal consolidation. And what I would wish to point out is they made income tax assessments faceless last year. That itself actually led to a lot of debate last year. But somehow I think people have now digested, with the hope that actually if any mistake was committed during the original assessment, the same can be rectified in the appeal before the CIT or in an appeal before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. But a startling announcement was made in the budget yesterday that even the hearings before the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal would be faceless. See, they forget the fact that the tribunal virtually exercises a judicial function, and authorities who exercise judicial function are not expected to function in a faceless manner, and they are now reduced to virtual computers or machines. Principles of natural justice mandate that they should actually give a proper hearing. See, hearing always makes a difference. And there is a judgment of the Supreme Court which says that where a bench of judges sit, a constitution bench of 5 judges, if there is no deliberation between the 5 judges before they deliver judgment, the very judgment would be a nullity. Because unless there is a deliberation between judges, all judges, a full-fledged correct judgment may not come. In fact, I may have a particular opinion, another judge might be having a different opinion, a third judge might be having a third opinion. If all the 3 of us discuss, we might come to a particular opinion and arrive at some sort of a solution. And I think all this, I think, will be lacking because you will not have the presence of either the lawyer or the chartered accountant in a faceless hearing before the ITAT, and you can't understand the nuances by only reading the written submissions. And I personally feel this step is very retrograde, and in the interest of actually doing fast track justice, I think they are burying justice, and this should be challenged as unconstitutional. Otherwise, I think the budget seems to only further the object of the government and the Prime Minister of achieving Atmanirbhar, self-reliance, and wants to take the country forward and be self-reliant.
Yeah.
These are my observations about the budget.
Yeah, so you've given a complete 360-degree view and touched upon almost every issue, sir. So on the income tax side, I would like to probe a little further. You've had some announcements like the time limit for reopening being now brought down to 3 years. You had the authority for advance ruling, which has been done away with and replaced by a board which will now have 2 commissioners. A settlement commission being done away with and replaced by a board. Acknowledging that these, at least the AR is not working, has been acknowledged in the memorandum itself. Sir, I'm just wondering that all of this, along with the faceless assessment appeals and faceless, potentially a faceless ITAT, which you're saying possibly could even fall foul of natural justice principles. So the litigation landscape itself, or the litigation resolution landscape also, is possible. It will undergo a dramatic change. Any thoughts on some of these issues, sir? Reopening, AAR, settlement commission. You almost appeared before all of these forums, or you have challenged some of these judgments in the Supreme Court, or defended the judgments in the Supreme Court.
See, I have defended the very creation of the AAR, no?
Yeah.
See, authority for advance ruling, particularly for foreign taxpayers, is a very welcome thing, no? And settlement commission, I think there are controversies. But as far as authority for advance rulings, most of the developed countries have an authority for advance ruling. I think they should not have done away with the authority for advance ruling. Instead, they should have strengthened it by actually appointing very competent people, no, to man the AARs. And with regard to reducing the number of years for reopening of assessments, they have also actually kept 10 years in case of serious cases. No? There they have not actually sought to.
Yeah.
Therefore, that they have not defined what are those serious cases.
Okay.
Therefore, we do not know whether they are going to still wield their acts.
Yeah.
And how they are going to choose between 3 and 10.
Very well said, sir. Absolutely, sir. You're happy that the tax rates have not been touched. There was a fear which led to the stock markets dipping a bit over the last week. COVID says windfall profit tax and whatnot. Luckily, none of that have come.
No, that would have been actually virtually killing the taxpayers. No?
Yeah.
They are already being squeezed now.
Yeah.
And the government must have realized, no? Now, actually, even people in the highest brackets, they pay about 44%, or 44
yes.
point.
Yeah, 43 almost. Yeah.
Yeah, 43 or 44%. And therefore, there is no purpose, particularly when income levels are going down for many. Now you saw even in today's newspapers, 95% of Supreme Court lawyers are actually struggling for earning income.
Yeah. Yeah. Sir, my last question is, do you think generally, sir, generally the amendments in the income tax on the income tax side, are you convinced, sir, that we are heading towards a more taxpayer-friendly regime, a more taxpayer-friendly administration we will see in the coming years? An effort has been made over the last few years, an ombudsman, taxpayer charter, this, that, everything. But do you think, sir, we'll finally reach there someday?
No, I think even though the government has got those intentions, ultimately, what I feel is the bureaucracy is the bureaucracy, you know, and they are always target driven. So when it comes to January, their colors change. February, they still become worse, and March, they really become ghosts, you know.
Yeah.
So that I think has been the case, and it is becoming worse year after year, I say.
Yeah.
And now they actually send notices saying that you are bound to pay advance tax. You have actually paid so and so last year, and this year, why your income has gone down? Even at the time when you are paying advance tax,
Yeah.
why your advance tax is low this year? How can actually these sort of questions be put? No.
Yeah.
Therefore, I don't think they are friendly in that sense. They create a fear psychosis among the taxpayers. There is harassment.
Yeah.
And they say faceless assessment. This is not faceless assessment. Face is actually, it is a paper harassment. No?
Yeah. Yeah. I think very well said, sir. Paper harassment has to stop. Absolutely last question, sir. Do you expect, so the GST collections are at a record high, 1.2 lakh crore in January. Do you expect, sir, the income tax collections, which have, unexpected lines, income tax collections have gone down this year. Do you expect that to pick up next year?
It should pick up. Income tax collection should pick up. I think overall, I think the situation is slowly improving.
Sure.
I think they should slowly pick up. See, we can't suddenly say that it will pick up at a great pace, but it will gradually pick up.
Sure. So on that optimistic note, sir, we'll say thanks to you. That is Senior Advocate Mohan Parasaran, former Solicitor General of India, one of the most eminent senior counsels in the country, who over the last 3.5 decades of legal practice has laid down the law on several issues. He's contributed to the development of legal jurisprudence in this country. Thanks so much, sir, for talking to Tax Sutra. Thank you. Thank you.